It is January 24th, 1961, just after midnight, and the Boeing B-52 Stratofortress is cruising over North Carolina as part of a routine Cold War mission. Though the B-52 bomber had been reliable for the U.S. military since the 1950s, that night, something went wrong. A fuel leak started in the aircraft's belly. The plane shook as alarms rang out, filling the cockpit with panic. The crew was confused and scared, having just seconds to react. They had no choice but to eject as the plane began to break apart and the two bombs strapped to the wings fell free. One bomb was fortunate enough to deploy its parachute, floating gently and landing safely on the branches of a tree in a nearby forest. The second bomb, however, was not so fortunate. Its parachute failed to open. It fell straight down, crashing into a farm with immense force. Although the impact caused severe damage to the bomb, its safety mechanisms worked effectively. However, the second bomb was ready to explode. 3 out of 4 safety switches were turned off. The only thing that stood between destruction and survival was a tiny, stubborn switch that somehow remained intact. That was the only reason North Carolina was not completely wiped out. After the incident, the Army quickly sealed off the crash site. Soldiers searched the fields and forests for any signs of triggers that could lead to an accidental explosion. The team worked hard for days to recover the bombs and eliminate any risks. Every second was tense, knowing that one wrong move could lead to disaster. Notably, among those who ejected, 5 crew members had survived, yet 3 brave lives were tragically lost. In a Soviet submarine, deep beneath the North Atlantic Ocean, the captain slams his fist on the table. His eyes blazing with determination, he believes that war has started and that the time for hesitation has passed. He prepares to launch a nuclear torpedo at American Navy ships. This act would almost certainly trigger an immediate and devastating nuclear exchange between the United States and the Soviet Union, putting all of humanity at risk. But one man intervenes and stops him. It is 1962, during the height of the Cold War, and the 2 largest armies in the world are watching each other closely, each armed with enough nuclear weapons to destroy the planet. In October of that year, an American spy plane spots Soviet atomic missiles being constructed in Cuba, just 90 miles from Florida. This discovery creates instant panic across the United States and around the world. With headlines screaming, "Nuclear crisis," families begin digging fallout shelters in their backyards, and the entire world holds its breath. In Washington, President Kennedy faces the toughest decision of his life: launch an attack and risk nuclear war, or sit idle while deadly missiles threaten every American city. He opts for a bold third choice: a blockade. Within hours, U.S. warships encircle Cuba, sealing off all sea routes. Soviet ships head right into the blockade, facing the might of the U.S. Navy. One wrong move could trigger World War III. Meanwhile, a Soviet submarine called B-59 sits quietly near the U.S. blockade. Cut off from all communication, its crew is unaware of the chaos happening above them. Then the U.S. Navy starts dropping depth charges, bombs that create massive underwater shockwaves, which can damage the submarine and force it to surface. To the worried crew, this sounds like the start of war. The captain, an experienced officer with a stern face from years of service, believes a conflict has begun. He sees the American Navy ships as an immediate threat. As the tension rises, he orders the launch of a nuclear torpedo, convinced it's necessary to protect his country and confirm his leadership. Firing the torpedo could destroy the American ships, but it would also lead to global disaster. However, there's a key rule. All 3 senior officers must agree to launch it. 2 officers say yes, but one brave officer, Vasili Arkhipov, known for his calmness and strong sense of duty, says no.
I say no.
The 3 officers begin a heated argument. For a moment, the captain's anger fades and doubt creeps in. Arkhipov sticks to his principles and refuses to sign the order. The rest of the crew, caught in a storm of emotions, can only watch in fear as the argument escalates. Minutes feel like hours, but eventually Arkhipov convinces the captain to wait. In doing this, he saves the world without anyone realizing it. 13 days later, Kennedy and Soviet leader Khrushchev reach an agreement. The missiles leave Cuba, and the U.S. quietly removes its missiles from Turkey, ending the crisis. The world breathes a sigh of relief, knowing it was just seconds away from World War III. A deadly military bioweapon slipped from a secret Soviet lab, all because a worker forgot to replace a single tiny air filter. This small mistake sent a cloud of anthrax spores drifting into a nearby town, unleashing an invisible killer and sealing the fate of countless lives. But what makes this situation even more alarming is how close it came to altering the course of human history. In 1979, Sverdlovsk, a city in the Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union, now known as Yekaterinburg, was a hub of secret military-industrial activity. Hidden within its walls was Compound 19, a secret biological weapons facility where scientists produced deadly anthrax spores, a sinister weapon that could turn into an invisible and odorless powder and could disperse through the air, spreading death without warning. On April 2, 1979, a technician failed to replace an essential filter in the ventilation system at the facility. In an instant, lethal anthrax spores were released into the atmosphere, swept away from the facility and carried by the wind towards the nearby, unsuspecting city. Within a few days, the nightmare began. The once vibrant community of Sverdlovsk was thrown into chaos as people began showing signs of a strange illness. High fevers, severe chest pain, and difficulty breathing. While the official death toll was reported as 68, some believe the actual number was over 100. The spores had drifted only a few miles, turning the city into a silent death zone. However, what makes this situation even more alarming is how close it came to altering the course of human history. By pure chance, the wind carried the anthrax spores toward a quiet industrial zone and not the crowded heart of Sverdlovsk. Had the breeze shifted just a few degrees, tens of thousands could have died, and the world might have witnessed the first airborne bioweapon pandemic. The Soviet government kept the truth hidden under Cold War secrecy for over 10 years. They blamed the deaths on contaminated meat from the black market, claiming people got sick from eating infected beef. Although foreign intelligence suspected something was wrong, the Soviets denied everything. They destroyed medical records, silenced doctors, kept foreign scientists away, and buried the truth for years. Ironically, the Soviet secrecy had a double effect. While it prevented the world and even local doctors from responding correctly to the situation, it also prevented a global panic, including possible overreactions, such as retaliatory bioweapon programs from the US or NATO. It wasn't until after the Cold War had ended that Russian President Boris Yeltsin publicly admitted the anthrax leak came from a military lab. With this new information, countries joined forces pushing for the Biological Weapons Convention, a major treaty to ban bioweapons completely. Russia opened its labs and finally faced the truth. The world woke up and scientists began collaborating, leading to the robust biosecurity measures we use today. What started as a deadly mistake became a turning point that made the world safer from its own creations. A single switch, a brave no, a divine shift in the wind. That's all that stood between us and oblivion. Which of these three close calls do you think was the closest? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more videos that uncover history's most astonishing untold stories, hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next one.